you've had, this one is not very bright. Didn't experts already discover all of the codes already?
I want to discover our own secret codes. You know, this will make the show extra special.
I don't know.
Look. Oh, do you see? That's a D.
The library's collection is very old. It's the kind of place where you do not touch. And what's that candle for? Is that just drama?
Who's in there? This is a restricted area.
You didn't tell them we were here?
I left them a message.
Adriana.
Look, I think I see a U.
Hurry up.
D-U-M. Dum.
Hurry up.
Dum.
Dum, 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 dum. What's that smell?
Well, at least we know it started with D-U-M.
Was the secret code dumb idea? Hi, welcome to Art Adventures. I'm Elizabeth Whelan.
And I'm Adriana Eftimie, and today we're talking about symbols and secret codes.
So what is the difference between symbols and a secret code?
Great question, Elizabeth. Okay, so both symbols and secret codes convey information in a way that is not immediately obvious or explicit. On one hand, symbols are intended to be widely understood, while secret codes are specifically designed to be understood just by those who have the key. So let's start with symbols. Why are symbols used in art?
Oh, that's a good question. So symbols are visual representations that substitute for abstract concepts or emotions. For example, a red heart is a symbol that is used by many cultures to represent love. And in art, symbols help you understand the story the artist is trying to tell. But the meaning of symbols can get lost over time. For example, some symbols used in the Renaissance art, 600 years ago, are no longer widely recognized. It makes it hard to understand the hidden meaning of a painting. But there are some symbols that are easy to recognize, even centuries later. And Adriana, you were telling me about this painting behind us. This contains some of those more common symbols.
It does, and it's actually a very beautiful painting. This is an oil painting called Color, painted by Angelica Kaufman in the late 1700s. Angelica actually painted this as part of a beautiful series representing the elements of art, at that time at least. Yeah. Invention, composition, design, and the one that we're going to look at today, named Color. All of these paintings have symbols that can be easily understood by the large public. In the painting Color, we have a female figure who is physically engaged in the act of creation. She is reaching to a rainbow above to collect colors with her brush. Now, generally, the rainbow is considered a link between humanity and gods because it touches both the ground, the earth, and the sky. They are also a rare occurrence after linked to good fortune and prosperity. Now, notice how the palette she's holding in her hand has only white pigment on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you can paint with just that. Not quite. It'll be just a white painting, although some artists have done that before, and they have been very successful. Now, this could mean that the artist is drawing inspiration from nature. She's borrowing the colors from the rainbow. Right next to her foot, there is a chameleon, symbol of transformation because it's changing color based on the environment. Symbols also depend on the context. Here, the chameleon is a positive symbol, but in some cultures, they have a strong belief that seeing a chameleon is the same as seeing the devil.
Wow.
Wow, yep.
I didn't know that.
Now, this painting is a great example of how just a few powerful symbols can give a deeper meaning to a painting. Elizabeth, do you have a favorite painting that is full of symbols?
Absolutely. This is a type of painting called a vanitas, which deals with the transient nature of life and the foolishness of opulence and worldly possessions. So this painting is by Herman Steenwijk, a Dutch painter who lived in the first half of the 1600s. And although this painting was created about 400 years ago, we can still work out many of these symbols quite easily. So skulls are prominent features in vanitas paintings. They represent the certainty of death and the transient nature of life. And the extinguished lamp, or sometimes it's an extinguished candle, is another representation of the brevity of life. And often vanitas paintings contain musical instruments, rich clothing or fabric, exotic items or other symbols of authority like weaponry, which won't mean much after death, or these shells, which actually were very uncommon in the Netherlands at that time. And so that would have meant expenditure, opulence, and sometimes when you see shells in these vanitas paintings, that's what they represent. And often they'll include an hourglass or a timepiece symbolizing the passage of time. So there's a definite theme here, isn't there? Once you see a few key symbols in a painting like this, it's much easier to figure out what the painting is about and what the other objects might symbolize. But apart from these types of paintings that slather on the symbols, why do artists use them in art?
Well, Samuel Coleridge said it very well. An idea in the highest sense of the word cannot be conveyed but by a symbol. Artists use symbols for many reasons. Maybe they want to express complex ideas and emotions that are difficult to express in words or realistic images. Artists are known to have a large and intense spectrum of emotions.
What, us?
No. Well, those emotions are so complex, it's hard to put into words. So we turn to symbols. Like Edvard Munch's very intense paintings that we looked at in the previous episodes. Artists also use them because symbols can transcend language barriers and cultural differences, so artists can communicate their ideas to a wider audience. Now, if we see a dove with an olive branch, we all know what it means, right? We don't have to speak the same language to understand that. A dove with an olive branch represents peace. Another reason is adding depth and layers of meaning, creating a rich experience for the viewer. This can make an artwork more engaging by encouraging the viewers to interpret in their own unique ways. If you see visitors in museum in front of a painting full of symbols debating passionately about it, well, that means the artist did a very good job at using symbols. Now, symbols have also been associated with spirituality and the supernatural. Here, their use can evoke a sense of mystery, awe, and wonder. It's an invitation to connect with something beyond us, which we don't usually do in our daily lives.
This is true.
We have seen that artists have used symbols for quite some time, but when did symbols actually first appear?
Well, that's not actually known. One of the frustrations when talking about when did humans first start doing this or that is that we have to go by what we have discovered so far via archaeology or science. And when it comes to art, there's precious little that remains from thousands of years ago. And all we can do is guess at what we're seeing. This is particularly true of cave paintings like the ones found in Lascaux, France, which date back to over 17,000 years.
Oh, wow.
And they're not even the oldest ones. Other cave paintings that are 30,000, 40,000 years have been found. So some folks that think that these cave paintings are visual storytelling that might reflect the community's legends or cultural history or spiritual beliefs like you were talking about. But I think we have to be very careful about attaching meanings to paintings like this. So I'm an artist, you're an artist, and I can think of lots of reasons why another artist 17,000 years ago might have wanted to paint this. Perhaps that artist had a lot of time on his or her hands. They were stuck in the cave for some reason and they wanted to decorate it. Perhaps it was a particularly good hunting year. Perhaps this was a class of some sort, to teach about the animals or maybe to teach drawing. So It's hard to say, and I believe it's good to consider a wide range of possibilities when we're trying to interpret things like that. We don't really know if symbolism was actually involved. So symbolism can be really obvious and understood like the vanitas paintings, but without that information being passed on from generation to generation, that knowledge easily gets lost. So I was thinking about this and I was thinking, gosh, 17,000 years from now, it might appear to humans in the future that Herman Steenwijk had just painted a random pile of stuff if they don't know what that means. So speaking of more recent art movements, I've heard of symbolist artists. Are these people like Herman Steenwijk who enjoy putting universal symbols in their paintings?
Symbols reached their peak as an artistic movement in the late 1800s, particularly in Europe. This movement, known as symbolism, was defined by a focus on mystical, spiritual, and philosophical themes. and at the same time a rejection of realism and naturalism. If you look at paintings with many symbols in them, especially from that period of time, you will see that realism was not a part of it.
That's interesting.
Yep, as most of the scenes in the paintings lived outside our reality. Now, some of these most well-known symbolists include Gustav Klimt, Edvard Munch, and Odilon Redon. In this painting by Gustav Klimt called The Kiss, at the first glance we see many patterns and geometrical shapes within them and maybe not even think about it too much, just that it looks interesting and beautiful, right? But Klimt used those geometrical shapes as symbols. For example, the repeating geometrical black and white shapes on the man's robe symbolize strength and masculinity, while the circles in the woman's dress represent femininity and maternity.
That's so cool. I never knew that.
I thought about just, patterns and look how
Right.
beautiful they are combined, but it's a
Exactly.
lot more if we look carefully.
Yeah.
While symbolism as a movement declined in popularity after World War I, the use of symbols in art has remained an important part of many artistic traditions. Today, symbols continue to be used in art to convey a range of meanings and ideas, from political and social commentary to artistic expression and aesthetic value. Elizabeth, do you use symbols in your art?
Well, not all that often, although actually after this show, I now want to start shoving them in there. But sometimes when I do a portrait, I might include objects that have some meaning to the person. And maybe the symbolism is only known to that family or to that person. So Adriana, what about you? Have you used symbols in art?
Well, not intentionally.
Oh my goodness.
I love to paint sunflowers, and I just go back to painting them all over again. I know for the majority of people, sunflowers, they are moving after the sun, so they represent adoration towards the sun. But for me, I use it as a personal symbol, and for me, the sunflower is more like love and positivity, and it's just a good place. It's just a beautiful flower that gives me nice positive feelings. So that's the reason why I use it. It's not because I'm loyal to the sun or anything else.
There's some worshiping going on over here. But that's really interesting, and it does show that you don't have to be tied into what the meaning of symbols have been over time. There are lots of books about traditional symbols in art and otherwise that can be used, but you can also have things that have personal meaning.
Exactly. You can change their meanings to whatever fits your artwork.
Very good.
So how can viewers interpret symbols in art?
Oh yeah, so I say look for the easy stuff first. It takes a lot of work for an artist to add stuff into a painting. So sometimes we put things in just because it's the design or the composition or color or whatever. But if an artist has put something prominent, like an hourglass or a skull or something like that, often an artist is trying to add to a story, and they're trying to make it obvious so that you, the viewer, can see that sort of thing. Here is a painting of a former Polish king, Stanislaus Augustus, who reigned from 1764 to 1795. So this should start to look a little familiar to you. Based on the Vanitas paintings we saw earlier, it's easy to get some sense of what's going on here. Even if you knew nothing about the man, okay, we see an hourglass, we see a worried or thoughtful expression, he's an older man, there's a crown, he's wearing a signet ring, and there are some storm clouds outside, and it looks like a roiling sea. This indicates a king with some concerns, I'd think. And if you read up on him, you'll discover that indeed, the year 1793, when this painting was completed, was a very difficult one both for the monarch and for Poland. And these symbols help give us clues to then get a much better understanding of the state of things than if he was just sitting upright in a chair with nothing around him. So as well as historical narrative, art also excels at giving a modern take to ancient myths and tales, something that I think contemporary artists are starting to get more involved with, helping to tell those stories across the ages. Take the story of Pandora's box, for example, a tale which we first hear about during the 8th century BC in Greek literature. And it's about, you've probably heard this, about a woman whose curiosity led her to open up a box, releasing all the world's strife, and only hope was left in the box. So that's a story which has been reinterpreted many times, to the point where when we see a painting of a woman holding a box, the box is our clue. It's a symbol that there's a good chance the story of Pandora is being referenced in some way. So by the way, this is interesting to me. The story has morphed quite a bit through all the countless tellings, and the original telling of the story called it a jar and not a box, but somebody misinterpreted along the way, and that's one way that symbols and stories get changed and reinterpreted over time. So when it comes to symbols, some objects have more than one meaning depending on the context. A butterfly can represent fragility, but it can also represent metamorphosis and change. And another symbol is the eye, which I thought this was really interesting. Traditionally, it's associated with wisdom and omniscience or spiritual enlightenment, but in contemporary art, it often means surveillance or judgment. Very different. So it helps to know a little bit about the subject or the artist or the time that they're in which they lived. So do you think that artists are using symbols that are more personal to them nowadays?
I actually think so. Many contemporary artists use symbols that are personal to their work, or they just reinterpret them. These symbols may be based on the artist's own experience, cultural background, or personal beliefs. For example, the artist Yayoi Kusama often used polka dots and infinity nets as a reflection of her experiences with mental illness and OCD.
Wow.
Another artist is Frida Kahlo, who used personal symbols such as monkeys and terns to represent her own life experience and cultural heritage. Now, do you remember the banana duct taped on the wall installation named the Comedian?
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But we can talk about that later. But tell us about that in terms of symbolism.
Well, the artist Maurizio Cattelan used it as a symbol of satirical commentary on the art world and the absurdity of the art market. Probably that's why you're not very fond of it, and me neither. Now, the banana itself could be seen as a symbol of perishability and fleeting value. This installation was sold for over $120,000.
I've got a problem with that.
I have so many problems with that. And the same installation was created multiple times by the same artist. Now, symbols are getting very expensive nowadays, as we can see. The funny part is that during one of these installations, so banana taped on the wall, there was a student going to see it, and because he was hungry, he didn't have breakfast that morning, he actually ate the installation.
That is brilliant. Oh, that's so great.
Of course, he was kicked out of the museum, but probably was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So symbols are meant for us to understand, but what if we don't understand them?
Oh, then that's a secret code. So secret codes in art refer to hidden messages, symbols or images that are intentionally concealed within an artwork. And we may never know what some of these secret codes are that artists use. They could have been a personal message to someone, or just an artist doing something and knowing that no one's ever going to figure it out. But a couple of ways that artists have incorporated secret codes. One is cryptograms. Those are messages written in code or cipher, and they can be hidden within an artwork in various ways, such as in an arrangement of letters or numbers or symbols or optical illusions that make it difficult to read a written message. One easy way would be if you had books in a painting, and you could put some sort of written code, for example, along the spines of the books. And secret codes have now found their way into digital art as well. So steganography is the practice of representing information within another message or physical object so that a human can't tell it's there. Generally, the hidden message appears to be something else, like it appears to be a different image or an article, for example, and the hidden message may be in invisible ink within the lines of a letter. That would be steganography, sort of like what Adriana was looking for in the library archives earlier. Digital images are now used in this manner. A sender may start with a normal image file and change the color of certain agreed upon pixels to correspond to a particular letter or number. That's pretty clever. A change like this would be barely detectable to the human eye. But an older possible example of steganography, and I say possible because we still haven't solved the problem, or
it could be a conspiracy.
Or it could be a conspiracy, is the Voynich manuscript, a heavily illustrated book dating from the 1400s with weird pictures of things like alien plants. The language it is written in is completely unknown. And attempts to decipher the words and images continue, attracting art historians and artists, linguists, scientists, and conspiracy theorists with their interpretations. And something steganography has been employed in the making of this book. In other words, that the message isn't just about interpreting all the words and stuff, that somehow a message is disguised as parts of the words or within the pictures. And hidden codes can be also contained in sculpture. Oh yeah, we have Diana here. She could be hiding a...
What are you trying to tell us?
Yeah, she could be hiding a secret code. But the one that I'm fascinated with, and I'd love to see it someday, is a sculpture called Cryptos. So in this particular case, the artist who created this particular sculpture wasn't trying to hide the code. He let everybody know that there were 4 secret codes hidden in this. So this sculpture is by the American artist Jim Sanborn, and it's on the grounds of the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And so, of course, it would be very good if they could figure out how to break all of the codes. Of the messages hidden in the sculpture, 3 of them have been deciphered, but the 4th remains unsolved, and it's one of the most famous unsolved codes in the world.
Wow.
Adriana, what's another type of secret code that can be found in art?
Well, we have hidden images.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Hidden images are often used as an optical illusion within a painting and can be used to convey a secret message or challenge the viewer's perception. In this painting called The Ambassadors, painted in 1553 by Hans Holbein the Younger, we have a hidden image. If you look at a painting head-on, there is a giant weird-looking shape on the lower side of the painting. However, if you look from a different angle, it turns into a skull. Now, our historians believe the skull is a memento mori, which translated from Latin means remember you will die.
Kind of like the Vanitas paintings, yeah.
Yes, such a joyous painting. Not something I would like in my home.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
You have to get right to the side of it and look along it and to see the skull. So when you go into the room where it's hung, you see all these people like trying to get exactly the right angle because you have to be right up against the wall to see it, but it's extremely clever.
It is, although when you look at it head-on, it's not that glamorous.
Right,
it's
just
like,
a
what
big
is that?
streak. Like, somebody made a big mistake in the middle of the... And it's a big painting, too. It's like life-size. Yeah.
And it's beautifully painted. It's
Yeah.
just extra special by the hidden images.
Exactly.
Now, here is another painting called Arnolfini Portrait, painted in 1434 by the painter Jan van Eyck, which at first sight may seem like a conventional portrait of a husband, his wife, and their dog. But let's look closer to the middle of the painting. Not only has Eyck written his name at the center of the piece, but he's also painted himself in it. Jonas de Eyck Fui Hick 1434. I butchered the pronunciation, but I can tell you how it translates.
Oh, good. Okay.
Jan van Eyck was here, 1434. That's what it says.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
If we have any Dutch viewers, please let us know how to pronounce it. If you zoom in even closer, there is a small circular mirror. In it, you can see the backs of the subjects, and in the middle, the painter himself.
Wow.
And that's some crazy amount of details, especially because it was painted in the 1400s. Let's not forget about anagrams. Anagrams are words that are formed by rearranging letters of another word, and they can be hidden within a painting for various reasons. For example, we have cat, which can be act, or dusty, study, inch, chin.
Oh, right.
These are just one word at a time, so they are easy. But can you imagine how complicated it gets when you have to use them in a big sentence?
Right.
So you can write a secret message in your future artwork by using anagrams. Now you know how to use them.
Oh, that's a really great idea.
Anagrams were very popular in Europe during the Middle Ages. Kings used them, members of many religious orders used them. The King of France even had his own personal anagram master named Thomas Billon. can't believe that was a job.
Yeah, no, that's a cool job. And what a great idea to try to include stuff like that into your painting. It just adds a little bit of fun. We paint all sorts of things, but whether it's something that we only know about or whether it's something that other people could figure out, I think that would be really, really wonderful to use. So we hope we got you thinking about using secret codes and symbols in your own artwork.
If you'd like to know more information about this subject, you can go to our website, artadventures-tv.com, and you'll find so much more over there.
And we've got these pictures that you've seen, so you can take a closer look at them. And we look forward to seeing you next week when we're going to be talking about buying and selling art through auction houses.
So exciting. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. See you soon. What's that smell?
Elizabeth, I looked at the camera in the wrong way. Oh, I can put the lines here.
You can, you cheater, you.
Wait, because I have a line.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. What's your line?
Hurry up. With more like you want to crush me.
Hurry up.
That's what I want. Was my head in it? Capture the feelings.
Yeah.
Even though we're bad actors, they'll still get something. This episode might be over even before we can say our lines. Stop! This is our baby.
Exactly.
We named him Lucifer.
Lucifer.
And this is our nephew.
Flambe.